Hi, welcome to today's devotional podcast with Dr. Jacob Al. Before we go into devotionals for today, I pulled up some analytics from YouTube uh, viewing statistics, and it's quite encouraging. Episode 53 had the best viewing audience and time uh, in the past couple of weeks. Uh, Episode 53 generated 1.1K views and downloads. And I am particularly sometimes in reviewing this analytics interested in seeing the average length of time that when they viewed the video they spent, because you can easily have people opening or downloading the distance, and after listening to one or two sentences just click you off. And so the watch time statistics becomes very interesting to me. On the average, the time that we spend on the podcast is between 25 to 40 minutes on the average, maybe 35 minutes, okay? And for the average watch time of this 1.1K views and downloads was 21.5 minutes. So it means that on the average, any person who downloaded this podcast, uh, episode 53, and sort of watched it, they spent an average of 21 minutes listening and watching this video, which is huge. It's a very huge accomplishment in the sense that it means that more than half of your message is getting to the targeted audience, and I think that it's encouraging, and it just once again goes a long way to prove that this is a topic that is touching people, and the message is getting across to people. Now, um, I have often said that, look, if this podcast even changes the life of one marriage in the whole wide world, while it brings happiness and joy to a single marriage, then I would have accomplished my goal. I would be satisfied because as a result of putting this information out there, it has saved the marriage of one couple and brought happiness and joy in one marriage family. I would have accomplished why I am doing this. And so I'll continue. Today's episode is entitled God intended love making for the wife's pleasure as well. God intended love making for the wife's pleasure too. And that's episode 50, 55. Okay. So, as a loving deer and a graceful doe, let her breast satisfy you at all times. That's Proverbs 5, 18. So, all other things being equal, a couple's goal in marriage should be building up pleasurable sexual feelings when it comes to love making. So I begin with all things being equal because sex is not the only thing about marriage, okay? So the fact that we are emphasizing on sexual pleasure in the marriage couple may make some people to think that we are thinking that marriage is all about sex. But as I've always said, uh, this will come through when all other areas of the marriage is in line, is in sync. So it is important that both couple work at their communication, work at their trust for one another, work at their finances, work at their family relations, their kids. All those other things must fall in place and be in line. I mean, not perfect, but be reasonably sound. Uh, then it'll give you the freedom to not be stressed enough to be able to enjoy each other in the act of love making. When there are all these other areas hanging, there's mistrust, there is marital cheating, and all that. It builds up some resentment in and a toxic. It creates a toxic mode in the home that does not permit uh, freely enjoying each other in the act of sexual intercourse. So I say all things being equal, and that is exactly what I mean. Do not think that sex is just all about marriage is just all about the sex. So for if all other things in the marriage must come to jail or must be in line, must be in conformity, then there is no stress, there's no mistrust. Then these other things can follow amicably. If you don't address these other issues hanging out there, and you just concentrate on love making to solve the other problems, you are mistaken. You are making a huge mistake. It will not work. It does not work that way. It creates resentment and hatred and even more, because you need to understand the act of love making is an act of intimacy, and intimacy only happens intimacy is fertile on the grounds of trust and uh what trust and agreeableness, if there's a word like that, trust and unity and bonding. That is when it happens, when there is trust. So when combined with some new experience and a realization of your love desire to give each other sexual pleasure, for the wife, this will increase the number of signals to her brain, which can build up to an emotional sexual response. So if all these other things are in place, and and the wife begins to realize that uh, she has gained certain new experiences as we walk through the Kegel exercise. She has done that, and she has mastered the contracting of her PC muscle. The PC muscle being the people genius muscle, which controls mostly the sexual sensory aspect of the female genitalia. Once the wife has been able to, through the Kegel exercise, has mastered the contracting of that PC muscle, this experience gives her the courage and the realization that, hey, after all, she can also be pleasurized in marriage. And it prepares her emotionally, and then it makes her respond appropriately during love making. And the reason why for the past two episodes I have concentrated on the wife's gaining pleasure is because statistics have shown in Christian marriages that uh, mostly wives have been very, very resentful, or they have held back their sexual expressions in the time of lovemaking because they have there's this myth that going all out there and releasing yourself to your husband and making him feel you enjoy every aspect of sex, makes you become less spiritual. And this could not be further from the truth. The fact that you express yourself to your husband and you enjoy sexual intercourse, it does not in any way decrease your spiritual standing. In fact, on the other hand, you're holding back and denying your husband full pleasure, and your body is actually has spiritual implications. You ask me, where do you get this, Dr. Jacob? Well, go ahead, check First Corinthians chapter 7, verses 1 and 2. Paul makes it clear that, look, your whole body, you the woman, your whole body, every aspect of your body does not belong to you. It belongs to your husband. And you, the husband, your whole body doesn't belong to you. It belongs to your wife. Now, if Paul of all people would recommend that you get married as a way of combating sexual promiscuity, then he means that, look, if you have a problem with sexual promiscuity and Paul is prescribing you to get married to solve that problem, then he necessarily is saying that, look, if you get married, all the satisfaction you need and you are running around these women, you should be able to get it from your wife. So that should stop you from your sexual promiscuity. But we all know practically that is not true. A promiscuous man, and I'm not saying what Paul is saying with regards to the word of God is not true. It is true that, look, if a man gets married and they don't deny each other the pleasure of sexual intercourse, they satisfy each other adequately, then only a foolish man will look elsewhere to be satisfied again, because you will get to realize that whatever you are seeking out there in a woman, your wife has the capacity and is able to provide it even better than the person who you don't know or who is out there who doesn't belong to you in a spiritual bonding. Okay, so that is why we want to spend time. Christian women, please don't be let this old myth hold you back. And if for any reason your husband ever tells you that your desire to be satisfied sexually is a wayward behavior, then he doesn't know the scriptures. He is rather the wayward person, because the fact is that you are the only one who can give her the satisfaction that she desires as a biological human being. And she is the only one who can give you the satisfaction that you desire as a biological human being. And so when we concentrate and zero in on the woman to let themselves loose in the context of marriage, and that is if all these other things in the marriage is working well, I don't see why you should hold back. You're holding back rather is denying you of the very essentials that and ingredients, essential ingredients that will make your marriage bond stronger. When you hold back and you realize that it's all in the arena of the mind. So I'm spending time within the past 2, 3 episodes to dismantle this myth that you, the woman, you, the wife, you don't have to let go and let loose and enjoy yourself in the act of love making. It is not true. It is from the pit of hell. You have a right. It's your right that God. It's your God-given right, and it does not in any way diminish your spiritual standing. In fact, in other on the other hand, it rather increases your spiritual maturity. If you as a woman realizes that it is your responsibility to enjoy yourself with your husband and make every effort to make you both enjoy each other, then you are preserving his character and his moral integrity. If you, the woman, understand this and you make him to look at you and you alone and desire no other woman, you have contributed in building the moral character of your husband, and you have helped him keep his moral integrity by looking to you alone, that God has given him the right to be able to have the pleasures that he desires from a woman, and no other woman will be more qualified to do that for him. So the wife must understand herself. Desire should be her ally, not her enemy. And sometimes you see, desire has been looked at and frowned at in the Christian circles. Well placed desire is not a sin. Well placed desire is not a sin. And when it's what you do with your desire is what becomes the problem. If your desire is for the body of your husband, there's nothing wrong about that. The scripture has given you the right to feast over your husband's body. Any part of your husband's body, if you desire, it is not a sin. Okay. And the same way, any part of your wife's body, if you build up desire for, it's not a sin. After all, she is the only human being or opposite sex that God has given you permission to feast over her body, that nobody else can do, that nothing else, nobody can accuse you of committing a sin. The body belongs to you. You have every right to her body, and his body belongs to you. You have every right to it. So having a desire for the body of your partner, there's nothing wrong about that. Okay? So don't let the word desire turn you off as a woman. I just don't feel like desiring my husband. It's just way there is nothing wrong about that. If it is your husband you desire, that is appropriate. Desire should be your ally and not your enemy. If you desire an orgasm because you know it is your right, your provision from God, and because you want to keenly enjoy the most intimate times with your husband, then there is no reason why you cannot experience an orgasm. There is no reason why. And it is amazing how long Christian women have been in marriages and they have never ever experienced orgasm in love making. They don't even know what the word orgasm is. And it's sad. And as a result, you interview couple who have sexual issues in their marriage, and the root cause of it is just that the woman will say, I no longer have a desire for sex in our marriage. How did it come about? You probe further, and the woman will reveal that I have never had any enjoyable encounter in our love making. All he wants is to get into me, ejaculate, and he gets up and he's gone. And I'm left there suffering. And so I see myself just fulfilling his desire. I see myself in a role of just producing babies for him. And so he doesn't take his time with me. He doesn't care whether I enjoy it or not. All he's interested in is to insert in me and then ejaculate and get up and go. And so you realize that this sort of kills the desire of most women in Christian marriages, because they don't find it to be an amicable understanding and intimate sharing adventure. It is more of a compulsion, a duty of satisfying the man. And that is where they lose interest. Mostly the women lose interest. And so they just see their role as perfunctionary and just to keep the peace in the house so he doesn't make noise around, so he can still provide the chop money, so he can still pay the bills. I just give myself to him. When you get to this stage, you are in dangerous territories. Your marriage is in a dangerous territory. And that in a way is on the mind of the woman. And so uh any sexual encounter does not free up the brains and the nerves that are supposed to send messages to create some certain hormones that would make their love making enjoyable. There's a struggle in the area of their minds and their brains. And the way sexual intercourse work in women is completely different from that of men. Women are more wired in their brain when it comes to sex, their emotions when it comes to sex. For men, they can have a serious quarrel and they get into the bedroom and the man is crossing over wanting to have sex with the wife. And the woman will say, no, you can't do that. You've emotionally wrecked me and we've come to bed, and yet you want to get into me. That doesn't work with me. Why? Because they are when they are emotionally wrecked, it's in the area of their mind. And so you cannot uh, bring her down in the evening when you just got back from work. She put the food down. You don't regard her. You disrespect her. You shout and you scream at her. You put her down. You don't respect her. And then you get to bed. And then you are now crossing over onto her side, wanting to hold her. What do you think she is? She's still processing the emotional trauma you just put her through. And you think that she should act quickly and respond and allow herself for you to have your way because simply because your penis is erected. It doesn't work that way with women. And unfortunately, this is what a lot of men don't understand. The fact that you quarreled with her, you shouted, you brought her down, you insulted her, and you have gone into the bedroom and you can still get your penis erect because you want to have her, does not mean that everything is cool and she should just open up her legs and allow you in. You need to let her emotionally process everything that has gone through. You want to ask for forgiveness, apologize, and give her time to heal. She may not be willing to have the sex that night, and you have to bear that. Okay, and so when the women go through these traumas and it comes to sex, then there's no way they can gain orgasm because every aspect of their sensory parts have been shut down as a result of the trauma and the emotional baggage that they are carrying. Okay, but if they want to have orgasm and they release, they can have it. It will come, but it will not come as a result of your exerting your willpower. Certain things must happen within your body as you are sufficiently stimulated and an orgasm will result. You can never work it up by trying, yet intense concentration is an important key. A hope that does not, I hope that that does not sound like a contradiction. The concentration must be on your feelings, sensations, and desires as you move with them and let them take you where they will. So again, sometimes we may seem to be contradicting. We say, well, you cannot use your willpower and your the power that you exert in gaining this orgasm in the act of sexual making, love making. But the thing is this again, we would also, on the other hand, say that look, let yourself loose. Um, let your concentration be when it comes to sexual intercourse. Let your concentration be on the sensations, your desires, and your feelings. Let them loose. Concentrate on these and bring them to the floor or to the to bear when you begin the foreplay towards sexual intercourse. Now, obviously, if all other things in the home is okay, you can freely do that. Okay, and especially once you have learned how to contract and release your PC muscles, you have a tool and a weapon that you don't even need the arousal, or obviously, it can speed up things. The expertise of your husband in touching certain places can speed up the process. But when you also, as a woman, let yourself loose and concentrate on your feelings, then you begin to do the contraction of the PC muscles at the appropriate time to meet that of your husband, then you undeniably will always, always, in every sexual encounter, gain orgasm if you want to. If you want to, you can. And that's what we are saying here. So, second, as the wife, beware of factors that can break your concentration and keep you from reaching orgasm. What will break your concentration? You may become a spectator at your love making, critically watching yourself to see if you are performing satisfactorily. Self consciousness will interrupt your enjoyment and turn off desire, which may be only just beginning. So again, another hindrance for the woman to reach orgasm in when she begins to begin to concentrate on her performance. Oh, at this point, am I doing well? Am I really satisfying my husband? Am I doing it the right way? Once you begin to concentrate on your perfecting of your sex play with your husband, you are shutting down your own sexual senses and feelings. Let loose, be free. Don't worry. There are no mistakes here. You have had this understanding together. You don't have to satisfy anybody. Nobody. You are doing this exclusively in your room. And if your husband has been listening to this podcast with you, he will understand that this is not the time to criticize you and to begin to compare your love making with encounters that he's had somewhere else. This is not the time for criticism. So your husband would have been able to support you adequately up to this point. So you no longer have to be thinking, oh, am I really responding well to my husband? Maybe I need to do it in a better way. Once you begin to think that way, you are rather shutting down your feelings. Just let loose. Let loose and don't concentrate on perfection. Just enjoy the act as you begin. Just let loose of yourself and don't concentrate on being a perfectionist. When you do that, you shut yourself down, and it's going to be difficult for you to gain the very thing that you are looking for, uh, the orgasm that you lose. The third interruption in concentration may come from guilt feelings of a rather exciting variety. From guilt feelings, okay? So you may have overcome psychological hurdles in thinking of sex as a bad thing, for you now realize it is God created and God ordained. But as you concentrate on your fabulous new sensation and look forward to a climax, the thought comes, I should be trying to please my husband. It's wrong. Just try to please me. And again, desire is aborted. Let me give you an accurate and sensible thought with which to program your mind before making love. So, again, for women, you've carried this myth for years that you were not supposed to enjoy sex. It's your responsibility to provide sex for your husband. It's your marital responsibility. And so, over the years, this has been your thought and what you have grown to understand. Thankfully, through this podcast, we have dismantled those myths. And you now understand that you were created with certain sensors by God to enable you enjoy the act of love making. But because it's in the area of the mind, even though you have dismantled those beliefs and thoughts, even in the middle and in the act of sexual intercourse, the enemy is able to shoot those thoughts direct to your mind again. Because the first thing he wants to do is to help, is to not make you enjoy each other. So you will think of looking for the enjoyment elsewhere. The devil will do everything that he can to make you not to enjoy each other, so you can think that there is a better person outside there who can satisfy you better than your spouse. So at this point, you begin to throw those thoughts into your mind, and immediately you begin to feel that, oh no, I'm not supposed to be pleasurizing this. It is rather my responsibility to make my husband happy. Once you begin thinking that way, you shut and you abort your feelings, your sensations, and the climax that it was going, you shut it down. Those sensory glands will shut down. It will be aborted. And so, over a few series, episodes, we will try to give you some tips to train you so those thoughts don't come to mind when you are in the act of love making with your husband. So, in the next few episodes, you will be introduced to some tips on love making. There is no need to judge yourself in the next few episodes, for nothing will be demanded of you. Instead, the atmosphere will be relaxed yet sensuous to permit a natural unfolding of the sexual response within you. Natural means that you force nothing, that you pretend nothing. This is it will be a natural outburst and outflow of your love for each other. That's what natural means. It can be one of most beautiful times of your life when nothing is required of you but to let yourself find pleasure as it comes. You may not realize how much your husband will enjoy these training sessions. They are plenty pleasure oriented. Couples have reported that their relationship became particularly close and romantic as they began concentrating on each other strictly for pleasure without pressure. As you cast off all self-consciousness, you will become more sensual and desire your husband. As you learn to respond by concentrating on your sensation, you will be learning to please your husband. You cannot imagine how devastating an indifferent response is to a man who tries to arouse his husband with love making. Okay, so the thing is, you say, well, look, just concentrate on your pleasure and your feelings and let go, be wild. And believe me, as you do, you will be pleasurizing your husband. Your husband will the very thing that you desired and you thought that it was your responsibility, you will begin to realize that he is more pleasurized than you. As you begin to concentrate on your own pleasure, your senses, your sensories, and letting go in the area of the wife, this is very important. That is the response, that the fact that you are responding to every little thing that your husband does in this area is a huge encouragement to him, and he's enjoying every minute of it. The devil has deceived you that no, it was your responsibility to make her happy, to make her enjoy. And in doing so, you shut down your own sensories. And so he was not even getting the response that he really needed from you. But as you shut that all off and you let loose, let go yourself, and let him allow him to pleasurize you, in so doing, you inadvertently was rather pleasurizing her. And that's the way God has created this. And it's amazing when there is an understanding, you begin to realize this. It is amazing what comes out of it. You also cannot imagine the ecstatic thrills that comes to a man when he sees his wife responding totally, enjoying every moment of their time together with lovely abandonment. Okay? As you go into these training sessions, your husband will have the opportunity to show you his love as he temporarily defers total sexual gratification. Okay? So, in addition, you will show him your trust as you put yourself into his hands and risk being completely vulnerable and honest in this relationship. Okay, so it's going to be exciting. Some of these things and tips that you're going to be learning is going to be a complete, total abandonment of your feelings and listen into the hands of your, just allowing yourself to go wild in this act of, and even though it will sound being vulnerable and you would think that it's selfish, you are not in any way selfish. Just by doing that, you are rather giving your husband a powerful response that he will never be happy. He will never ever forget, because he will always be thrilled whenever he thinks about an encounter with you in this regard. You get to see it. Just stay tuned. And in any situation, as I've always said, when Christ comes into this situation, it even makes it even much, 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 much better and sweeter. And I encourage you to accept Christ. If you don't have Christ in your marriage, bring Christ into your marriage. You both need to commit your lives to Christ and ask Christ to help you have the best marriage and the best love making encounter with each other. Pray with me. My Lord and Savior Jesus, thank you for your word. Your word is a lamp unto our path and a light unto our feet. We commit ourselves into your hands. We want to commit our lives into your hands. We believe that your finished work on the cross of Calvary was sufficient for our salvation. So, with our hearts, we believe unto righteousness, and with our mouth, we confess unto salvation. Come into our hearts. We commit our marriage into your hands. Come into our marriage. Come into our love making encounters and help us enjoy ourselves just as you ordained it to be from the beginning. Forgive us our trespasses and help us bond together in love in this marriage. In your precious name, I pray. Amen. Beloved, if you have said this prayer as a couple, the Lord has said your prayer, I encourage you to put it on the comment section on the YouTube or on the Facebook. Send me an inbox message if you want more information on this. But again, just click, if you are watching, if you're looking at this on the YouTube, click on the subscription button. And anytime we upload a new session, you will get an alert and you will be able to have access to it immediately. Thank you for listening. God bless.